When your characters are stranded far from civilization, hunger becomes more than a simple plot detail. It becomes a test of your character's knowledge, instinct, and sheer nerve. In this episode, we'll explore how real survivors identify edible plants, who in your story world would actually know that information, and why the universal edibility test is both a lifeline and a last resort. We'll even wade into the surprisingly rich world of insect protein. If you want your wilderness scenes to feel authentic, tense, and grounded in reality, this is where your research journey begins. Welcome to Writing Rural with Allie, the fiction writer's inspiration station for rural life and lifestyles, from historical to post-apocalyptic, helping you bring your rural stories to life. This is episode number 114, What Every Fiction Writer Should Know About Finding Wilderness Survival Food, Part 1. Written by Allie and currently voiced by AI. Stick around to the end to find out all the ways things could possibly go wrong in your story. Now, let's get into this. Shout out to IceFang111. This one is at your request. Before we get too far, let me define this a bit. I'm talking about characters that are in the wilderness with no imminent help or way to leave. Whether there was a plane crash, mudslide cutting off their way to civilization, they escaped a bad guy cabin, or they got sucked into a wormhole and ended up in the jungle. However they got here, they will need food to survive. So let's talk about it. First up, if your character crash landed, their car broke down, or anything similar to this, they will want to salvage tools or other resources. Now, someone who thinks they can walk to get help might not think of this, but if your character is in a plane crash, there is a good chance they will. Things scavenged could be emergency rations, anything that holds water, or even things to cook on. A metal part of the plane would work, but there is a potential dilemma with plane parts: paint. If they have to use a piece with paint on it, they want to burn the paint off first. Trust me when I tell you, it will smell awful and have a lot of smoke. Plus, the food might taste like the smell the first few times it is cooked on. I know, tasting smells sounds weird, but I can tell you from experience, okay, not from a plane, that it's a real thing, and likely to make characters gag. It will go away after a few uses. Thin, flat rocks can even be heated to cook on. Unless the rock is covered in dirt, it does not have a taste that can be transferred. But let me be realistic for a moment. The chances are slim that they will have meat to cook. Oh, I know everyone says they will hunt meat, but with what? And if it's big, the meat will go bad quickly unless it's freezing outside. Also, the meat is likely to attract predators and creates a new danger if they have no protection or are injured crash survivors. Now, I will come back and talk about meat in the next episode, but let's first talk about the bulk, or even the whole of the average person's real experience. For most people, this will be foraging for nuts, berries, roots, or plants they know are edible, or at least think they know are edible. In my little section of the world, I don't know of any poisonous nuts, but keep in mind this is all from where I live, and you'll need to research the place you're writing about. Berries are a great source of food, and one of the most common ways to encounter a look-alike plant. There are many plants that look like berries and are not real berries, many toxic berries, and even seeds that look like berries. We have a lot of wild blackberries around this area, but plants that look like it too. I have always told my kids, if you don't know 100%, don't eat it, period. The next question is, who is likely to know about these plants? This can be people like me who have Native American grandparents who made sure it was passed on. Many times military people are taught this if they are former Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, park rangers, science teachers, survival enthusiasts, farmers, ranchers, herbalists, people with special interests in plants, gardeners, outdoor enthusiasts, or anyone who is close to one of these people could have learned it from them. Now, this isn't an exclusive list, but should give you some good ideas. I know you'll hate this, at least I hate this part. You'll have to research both what is common to the area you're writing about and what is commonly known. A way to know what is most likely to poison your character is to search for the most common plants that send people to the emergency room in the area you're writing about. Now, I hear you. But Allie, what if they don't know any of the plants? Don't worry, I've got you covered. The Army has made something called the Universal Edibility Test. The downside is that it takes about 24 hours to complete, but the upside is they are less likely to die. Not dying seems like it would be a wee bit important. Again, let's take a moment to think about who truly would know this test and who would not before throwing it out randomly to save your characters. Before your character even starts the test, they should have been fasting for 8 hours. For anyone who doesn't know, that means they do not eat during that time. Sleeping is likely the best way to do a fast. This is to make sure there are no other possible reasons for reactions if they have a reaction. I admit, this feels like a long time. Now, let's cover how this works. First up, your character will pick a part of the plant. There are 5 parts to a plant: the stem, leaves, flowers, roots, and bud. Each part of the plant will need to be tested individually because in many plants, one part is safe and the other is not safe. If your character tests 2 at the same time and they have a reaction, they will not know which part of the plant they reacted to. Also, yes, the flowers later become fruit, berries, and nuts, but keep in mind each stage needs its own test: the flower stage and the fruit stage. Sometimes they can become toxic or lose toxicity, but becoming toxic would be the most common. An important note here is that brightly colored plants, just like animals, are more likely to be toxic. Don't let your character eat rotting or moldy plants. Well, you can, but I hope they deserve what's coming to them. Yes, live plants can be rotting, moldy, and have fungus, or even worms or other parasites. My tomatoes last year were sadly an example, as they got blossom rot. White and yellow berries or berry lookalikes are often toxic. It's best to avoid them. Plants with milky substances inside, this is often a sign of toxicity, which is weird for me to say because I know dandelions and wild lettuce have this, but most other things with a milky white substance on the inside are toxic. If your character doesn't know the plant, it's best not to learn the hard way. Also, remember the saying, 3, leave it be? This is said because plants like poison ivy and poison oak are in groups of 3 leaves. This is something else your characters should avoid. For this example, we'll say your character chose leaves. The first thing they will need to do is smell the leaf. Okay, I know that sounds silly, and it's not always an indicator, but it's an important step. If the plant smells foul, acidic, like ammonia, soap, moldu, or mildew, your character should stay away from it. Importantly, if the plant smells like pears or bitter almonds, this is a sign it contains toxins, such as cyanide. If it passes, move on to the skin test. First, they will rub the leaf on the inside of their wrists and wait about 5 minutes. If nothing happens, then they will crush and rub it onto the inside of their elbow, where they will hold it for 15 minutes. The first part is looking for quick reactions. The second is looking for delayed reactions. After the 15 minutes, they will wait 8 hours to see if there is any reaction. If there's any burning, itching, blistering, soreness, or swelling, they need to rinse the area immediately and use soap if they have it. Benadryl is recommended, but if they have none, a cool wet rag can be used as a cold compress to try to help. Will they have fresh water, soap, or Benadryl to do this? That's up to you. But if not, this is going to hurt and possibly itch like crazy. Now, if nothing has happened for 8 hours, it's time for the next step: cooking. The recommended method is boiling, but pan frying and sautéing are acceptable methods. 2 reasons for cooking: some poisonous plants are safe to eat after cooking them. Second, cooked plants are easier on the digestive tract, and your character doesn't want diarrhea in a survival situation, as this can turn deadly fast. Now, how long to cook it is widely debated, so you could logically make this work with a lot of times, although just saying it's cooked until done would be enough for the vast majority of readers. If I were going to personally do this, I would boil for at least 20 minutes, because that is how long it takes to get the bitter flavor out of some of my local plants. Not all character situations will allow them to cook the plants, and if they can't, well, they can't. Fire might not be an option, or they might not have anything to cook it on. These are also realistic scenarios. I will let you in on a modern secret that might help your characters. Water can be boiled in a plastic water bottle or other plastic container. I know it sounds crazy, but as long as the fire does not get above the water line, this actually works. How do I know? I've seen it myself when my son put it to the test, and it worked. I know, I was shocked too. The next thing your character will do is called the mouth test. This is when they take the leaves and pat them on their lips a few times and wait 5 minutes to see if there is a reaction. This is to prevent any anaphylactic episodes, hopefully. After the 5 minutes, if nothing has happened, they will then hold the leaf in their mouths without eating or chewing it for 15 minutes. If nothing happens in 15 minutes, they may chew it, but don't let them swallow any of it yet. They need to wait a full 15 more minutes with it in their mouths. I can absolutely see saliva being hard, if not impossible, for some characters not to swallow on accident. Now they are looking to see if there is any burning, itching, numbness, or anything else that is off. If this happens at any time, they need to spit it out and do not eat this part of the plant. I'll be honest, if it had any type of serious reaction, I would personally find a whole new plant, but that's just me. If after 15 full minutes of holding it in their mouth, everything is fine, they can then swallow the part in their mouth. They are not getting more, only what is in their mouths, which would be extremely difficult if they were half-starved or even hadn't eaten in a day or two. Then they wait a full 8 more hours. Okay, I know that sounds extreme, but sometimes it takes that long to make it through the digestive tract to know if this will cause diarrhea. Diarrhea in a survival situation can quickly lead to dehydration, complications from dehydration, and can even lead to death. If the character starts vomiting, it's likely the body's way of getting rid of poisons or toxins. Worse, if they show any signs of having been poisoned, they need to get things out of their system as quickly as possible. According to the guide, they should induce vomiting until there is nothing left to vomit, then drink as much water as possible to flush it out. That sounds less than fun, but you know the alternative might be death, so. Now, if after 8 hours there are no signs of a reaction, then the leaves are safe to eat. If they want to test other parts, they will need to start the test all over again. That said, it's recommended not to eat for 8 hours beforehand. If they just spent 24 hours testing a plant part, they will be hungry and want to eat. So there might be a waiting period before they test anything else. Now, if there are several characters, they could each test a different part at the same time and greatly speed up the testing time. Okay, so what are the signs of a plant being poisonous? Great question. The symptoms include developing a rash or hives, muscle weakness or unusual soreness or stiffness not caused by work, dry mouth, excessive salivation, excessive sweating, burning, blisters, or other irritation within the mouth, abnormal heartbeat, either too fast or too slow, lightheadedness, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, pain, cramping, and other digestive issues, vomiting blood, difficulty breathing, blood pressure drops, breathing slows. Please keep in mind that some of those reactions might cause mental confusion, and your character might not realize it. It might be another character who catches the signs. Life-threatening issues include seizures, fainting, being unresponsive, or paralysis. Now I hear you. Allie, aren't you forgetting people who don't know how to do this test? Don't worry, there are other types of food, and frankly, they are the most common thing eaten by real-life people who have been in these situations. Can you guess what it is? I'll give you a hint. You might need a strong stomach or to be extra hungry. If you guessed roses, why? Just why? If you guessed bugs, you're right. Bugs are common on every continent except Antarctica and a great source of protein and other nutrients. Ants are the most common and are a great option. However, some ants, like the fire ant, are a bad idea to eat. They bite and sting at the same time. I can tell you from experience, it is painful. More importantly, they have venom that causes welts, and many people are allergic to it. Everything from hives to anaphylaxis is possible, so the type of ant can matter. Other options are grub worms, which need to be dug up. These are delicacies in some countries. I have personally eaten these raw. They honestly taste like a mouthful of dirty snot. They also bite. I personally refuse to eat them if the head is attached, but most people eat them like that while they're alive and straight from the ground. Grasshoppers, locusts, and crickets are common and don't taste bad, but are mildly crunchy. If at all humanly possible, your character needs to cook the cricket. Many carry a type of roundworm parasite that can pass to humans, so unless your character wants to risk getting worms, have them cook it. The other common one is the earthworm. I have a full episode about earthworms if you want to dig in, but I will give you the highlights. I ate these growing up, so from experience, raw worms taste like slimy dirt. They will taste less than dirt if your character starts at the head and presses all the way down, getting the dirt, aka poop, out of the worm. Then it only has a slight taste of dirt that is not overwhelming. But they're best roasted over a fire. They have a crunch like French fries, but they cook fast, so your character needs to watch them so they don't burn. Fun fact, fire ants don't clear the vegetation around their homes. This means it is very easy for your character not to see the nest and stumble into it unknowingly. One quick reminder before we get to all the ways things could go wrong in your story. If you enjoy this podcast, I hope you'll take a minute to follow, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you're listening on YouTube or Substack, subscribe, hit the like button, and drop me a comment. I love to hear from you and answer questions. Don't forget to share with a friend. Now, for everyone's favorite part, what could possibly go wrong in your story? Likely to go wrong. Your character picks a berry they thought was safe to eat. Shortly after, they get diarrhea. Likely to go wrong, your character refuses to eat bugs at first, leaving them hungry and weak. Possible to go wrong, your character has no plant knowledge and no knowledge of how to identify edible plants. Each new plant is a risk. Possible to go wrong, your character tries eating a grubworm raw, and the feeling of snot in their mouth makes them vomit. Unlikely to go wrong, your character eats crickets raw, and when they get back to civilization, they learn they have worms. Unlikely to go wrong, your character wants to try a new plant, but does not know the leaves of three saying. They pick a poison ivy leaf and soon are scratching their hands and arms. Improbable, but still technically in the realm of possibilities. Your character uses their water bottle to boil the plant, only to find out the plant is toxic. They can't clean the bottle, and it's now toxic too. Thanks for listening. Until next time, happy wordsmithing.